Hey guys, what's up? It's your boy Zach. Thanks for clicking the video. Really do appreciate it. Now this is I guess day 3, maybe technically day 4 of the spoilers, but this does encompass the most recent spill, including the Izzit Elder Dragon. So most of the cards are Izzit. Of course, there were some random cards of not those colors, as well as two non-colored colorless cards that we should definitely look at. So thanks for stopping by. I'll do my best to sort of go quickly, give enough input to sort of summarize the card and get the juices flowing, so to speak. But let's start with the Elder Dragon, guys. This is cool, and it is a 4-mana dragon. So hopefully you can see most of the text. Of course, I will read aloud everything, and of course, some of them don't have all the text perfectly. So it is a 3/4 flyer for 2 colorless, a blue and a red. And of course, it's an Elder Dragon, and when it enters the battlefield, you get a treasure. Okay, little underwhelming when I first read it. Most of these are going to be a first read or second read, but I immediately thought of Goldspan Dragon, right? Goldspan Dragon is a 5-drop. This curves nicely into the Goldspan Dragon. Of course, once Goldspan Dragon is laid on turn 5 and then you swing, you'll have 2 treasures, both of which can be sacrificed for a total of 4 mana that turn. You could potentially lay another 4-drop. You can't lay this because it's a legendary, but I do think it is fairly reliable. The last clause, artifacts you control have tap to add 1 mana of any color, and then you can cast only instant and sorceries. So this is kind of cool. I thought of food. I don't know of too many actually seen, artifacts in standard that'll come too in handy with this. I don't think it'll be super synergistic with anything immediately prevalent in standard. However, this could be very interesting in Commander, so something to keep your eye on definitely going forward. Okay, so this is the second card. Unfortunately, already we hit one of the cards that doesn't seem to have the text. I am sort of recording this immediately after seeing it. I think all of this may have dropped just about an hour ago. So I'll do my best to read it and bear with me on these guys. But it is a 4/4 5-drop Simic color Elder Dragon. So cool already. It does have flying and trample, guys. So I'll do my best to read it very clearly. When Tanzanir Quandrix enters the battlefield, double the number of 1/1 counters on target creature you control. So very cool for counter decks already. The second half, when Tanzanir attacks, you may have the base power and toughness of other creatures you control become equal to Tanzanir's power and toughness until end of turn. So very interesting. Okay, so if you have ways of, boosting this guy up, any sort of equipment, auras, right, any sort of static anthem effects, this can be very cool because say you have a bunch of little 1/1s and then boom, you just opt to do this whenever you attack. Of course, it has flying and trample, so swinging isn't unrealistic. It's also probably wanted, and not too hard to achieve. There are some cool cards that grant creatures haste that are coming out, so this might be something to keep your eye on. I think that trample is very relevant, being that you sort of obviously want to grow this card with other things. And I know we haven't yet to see the Simic dump, so I'm assuming there's going to be plenty of tools for growing this, as well as counter cards for a pretty strong looking Simic counter deck. So I think this may be the best Elder Dragon we've seen so far. But we have yet to see the rest of the cards, so let's keep an eye on it and let's continue. Alright, so unfortunately, yes, I think I did see this one was one as well. They shouldn't be too many more, I promise. As I glanced over, I think just these mythics were for some reason. I definitely want to get the text right. But let me do my best to cover this card since it just came out. It is a modal halved card. The last half, right, being an 8-drop sorcery. So that's pretty cool. But let's cover the Extus Oriq Overlord creature half first. So for 4 mana, 2 blacks, 1 white, a colorless, you have a 2/4 double strike creature. So that's double strike there. It does come with Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, return target non-legendary creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Okay, has to be creatures, but it can't be legendary. Seems really good. There's no CMC restriction. Obviously, you can cast more than 1 instant and sorcery in a turn, right? Often those sorceries in these Orzhov colors will probably be bringing things back from the graveyard anyway. So this is super encouraging to just dump as much into your graveyard as you can. casting cards to bring them back, casting cards to, sort of obtain board presence. This unfortunately does go to your hand. It'd be super powerful if it went straight to the field, obviously. But I think that this is a good enough card to keep an eye on. I don't think it's overwhelmingly impressive, though. I don't think it's overwhelmingly impressive. Let's go to the second half, though, and see if that is, because I only read this once. As an additional cost to cast this 8-drop spell, you may sacrifice any number of creatures. The spell costs 2 less to cast for each creature sacrificed this way. So, say you sacrifice 2 creatures, the spell becomes a 4-drop. That's a lot more approachable, especially in a deck where, you'd only run this card if you're flooding the board with little creatures. Each opponent sacrifices a creature, create a 3/6 black and red avatar creature token with haste. Whenever this creature attacks, it deals 3 damage to each opponent. That's the ability the creature has. So you get a 3/6 with haste that immediately does 3 damage when it swings that turn. Okay, very, very cool. And each opponent has to sacrifice a creature. So immediately blow up, right, potentially one of their biggest things or one of their threats. They get to choose at least. It could get around Dream Trawler clauses like Hexproof if they only have a Dream Trawler. Something to note. And then you create a 3/6, which is probably going to survive the swing, that continuously just does damage, right? Have that 3 body will pretty much allow it to swing into anything, in the meta other than like Elder Gargaroth and stuff right now that's prevalent. And yeah, I think that's decent. I think that's very interesting, especially when other triggers will sort of, right, immediately trigger as you go to cast this card that are usually beneficial to your type of deck. So this is cool. Let's keep an eye on it. Let's move on. Okay, like promised, the text is back. So here we have a Izzit Magma Opus. I hope this wasn't already previewed before on like a previous day. If this is a repeat and you've already seen this card, I'm sorry. I'm going off of what I remember and just sort of really guessing. But I am going to cover pretty much everything today, guys. Don't worry. So for 8 mana, you deal 4 damage divided as you choose among any number of targets. Tap up to 2 target permanents. Okay, that's kind of cool. Create a 4/4 blue and red elemental creature token and draw 2 cards. Okay, so it's a little bit of everything here. You do 4 damage as divided how you want. You get to tap 2 things. You get a creature, a 4/4, and draw 2 cards at instant speed. Now, I didn't realize how much was really packed on there, but you're just going to blow something up, establish something as well, draw 2 cards, and tap things. I think this is really good. It's at instant speed. I think this is really good. I think the flexibility on this card is insane. And there's more text. For 2 hybrid Izzit mana, right, any combination of blue and red. Discard Magma Opus, create a treasure token. Okay. Goldspan Dragon is going to shine even brighter. I think Izzit Goldspan Dragon is going to be very relevant. We've already sort of seen a couple cards dealing with that, including the Elder Dragon. And there are some more we'll cover in just a minute. Okay, guys, so I don't believe we've seen this one either. This is in Japanese. We only have the Japanese image. However, we do have the text, thankfully, displayed in English here. So for Izzit mana, for 4 Izzit manas, so blue or red, whenever you cast, you get an Orc Wizard 4/4, and it has Magecraft. This Magecraft clause goes, whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, you target a creature you control. Great. Until end of turn, if that creature would leave the battlefield, exile it instead of putting it anywhere else. Okay? Whenever you exile this creature, create a 4/4 elemental creature token that's red and blue. Very, very cool. So you essentially prevent it from going to the graveyard, which can be relevant in some situations, as well as this just being a reoccurring Magecraft static ability that you can, you can get 2 activations of this if you cast 2 instants or something in a turn, and basically cover your board with this sort of extra layer of protection. Getting a 4/4 to sort of replace this as well, if this guy happens to die, is very, very good. And it can target itself. So very interesting to note. I think this might be okay. I don't know if it pushes itself into standard playability, but that remains to be seen. Okay, guys, so I wanted to cover this very quick modal card that I haven't seen. If it was spoiled before, then I'm sorry. So that's why I'm saying quickly here. Whenever an opponent, Flamescroll Celebrant, the first half, I'm trying to go too fast. Whenever an opponent activates an ability that isn't a mana ability. Flamescroll Celebrant deals 1 damage to that player. Okay, and you have an activation that gets +2 attack until end of turn. So very cool. It's a 2/1 ability. You can basically make it a 4/1, right? If you know you're going to get in, if they don't block, you can do that instant speed. And yeah, it just has a hate clause on it, which is kind of cool. It is a human shaman, so very interesting. Of course, it becomes attached to Revel in Silence, an instant speed 2 white. Your opponents can't cast spells or activate Planeswalker loyalty abilities this turn. Exile Revel in Silence. Okay, so this is basically like a counter clause or a counter spell. Because they go to cast something, right? You immediately, you know, well, no. It's not even like that. From what I understand, it's not even like that. Because they've already casted it. That doesn't stop their casting. So I think this is very situational and definitely kind of a sideboard piece. But you can sort of negate their whole turn if you know they're attempting to do something big the next turn. Cast this out at the beginning of their upkeep, right? This can be very interesting. I think this might be very strong. Even though initially I was like, but this could be strong. I bet you people that understand the game, the ins and outs of the phases and stuff, could tell me for sure if this has implications in other formats and stuff. I don't know if standard, there's just so much in standard that's competing in the 2-drop slot, but I think it's a cool card. Let's keep an eye on it. Okay, here's one that's rather easy to read even if you can't see the official text there. Draw 4 cards, then discard 2 cards unless you discard an instant or sorcery. Sorry, I keep forgetting to do this. This is a 5-drop Izzit spell that is instant speed. Practical research. So we have a 5-drop instant speed card that's decent. Draw 4 cards, discard 2 unless it's instant or sorcery. Now, obviously in Spellslinger decks, this is basically draw 4, discard 1. Okay, but it's also interesting because in decks like that, you want to put cards in your graveyard sometimes, especially with a lot of the new cards coming out, being able to bring back instants and stuff from your graveyard. The Elder Dragon in Boros actually lets you just cast, a 5-drop CMC maximum, at least unless you buff it, for free. So that can be relevant as well, right? You're also, you're putting a card in there that you could then cast again with that discard clause. So depending on what tools we have to really take advantage of the discard clause of being an instant or sorcery, we'll see if it sees play. We do have some 5-mana draw 3s. The best one being Graven Lore, I believe, but that does force you to run Snow. So this can be an option as to avoid running Snow if you don't want to. All right, so this is Maelstrom Muse. Okay, this is a 3-drop. Oh, sorry, a 4-drop. Almost couldn't tell because of this weird way they're doing these hybrid manas like that. It seems like they're going to do one for each school. We saw the Boros one. It was like a 6-drop. It's totally irrelevant. It's priced out of standard. But this one's a 4-drop, so potentially we could play it. It does have, whenever it attacks the next instant or sorcery you cast will cost X less to cast, X being the power of Maelstrom Muse's ability as this ability is resolved. Okay, so basically the last part, as the ability is resolved, if you potentially buff this with an Infuriate, anything like that, the power could be larger as it resolves, right? Allowing you to cast something bigger, right? A larger CMC spell. So that's why it's worded that way. And we do have a good amount of pump spells currently in standard, and I think we might get some more. So I think this can be relevant for casting a really big spell essentially way early. As well as getting in sort of a clean attack step that's also evasive, right? The flying 2/4, the flying is very good. Again, it is a 4-drop. There might be better 4-drops, things you can do with 4 mana in standard right now. So it definitely remains to be seen what other instants and sorceries come out. If something super broken or really pushed comes out, this card would be a great catalyst for it. Anyway, let's move on. Okay, so this is Creative Outburst, guys. So this is 7-drop. 3 colorless, 2 blues, 2 reds, and it deals 5 damage to any targets. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. Put one of them into your hand, and the rest of them on the bottom of your library in any order. Okay, 5 damage to any target. Look at the top 5, get one of them, put them back. And, right, so it's an instance. And if you don't want to cast it, you can discard it to create a treasure token. Again, we do want some instants and sorceries in our graveyard. So later on, we can cast this with big spells, big cool new stuff, new toys from Strixhaven, right? So this is a flexible card. Treasure tokens are looking very relevant. Goldspan Dragon, again, I've said it a couple times in this video, looking good. The treasure deck is looking good. Yeah, you know, it's a little priced out of my range. I think 5 damage isn't, I think it should do like 7 damage. Yeah, I think it should, or maybe like 6. 6 might not have, you know, I don't know. 6, at least take out Elder Gargaroths and things. That's why I don't like it. It can't take out some of the 6/6s going around. So, anyway, I don't know. Okay, Expression of Repetition. Okay, it is a blue and a red. Now, I think this one might be good. It's blue and a red Izzit colors at sorcery speed, though. Probably the biggest drawback. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. Put one of them into your hand, and one on the bottom of your library. Then exile the rest being the 1 remaining cards of the 3. Until the end of turn, you may play the exiled card. So basically the way I read this is, look at the top 3, pick one you want now, put one you want to potentially cast the next turn, and 1 goes away to the bottom. Right, so you do have to put that on to the side to exile, so it doesn't go on top of your deck, which could be bad, right? You don't want to potentially draw that card. So it's sort of card advantage in the sense you don't actually have to spend a draw step obtaining it, right? So it's actually like a draw 2 in a way, as well as getting rid of a card you potentially don't want right there. It is sorcery speed that could stop this from being, you know, a good card. But I think the effect is good enough, especially when sort of more forefront, more linear strategies, I guess I'm trying to say, where you're not trying to do any instant speed shenanigans. This can be good. I think this is a good card. Card value card. Can't talk. But let's keep an eye on this. I have a feeling you'll see a lot of it. Okay, so I don't know if we've seen this one either. I haven't seen it yet personally. But this is a 3-drop Spectacle Mage. Cool name, cool name. It has a cute little owl face. Look at that. It has flying, so 2/2. So 2/2 flying, 3-drop. Okay. Instant and sorcery spells with mana value 5 or greater cost 1 less to cast. So this is sort of like Thrix, the Storm Giant, right? This is just for, you know, instant sorceries. And yeah, I would say it's best when, say, you can get 2 on the field, right? Then all of a sudden your turn 5 and 6 are pretty deadly because you're doing some big things. That's good. Other than that, I think it might just be a filler card, a decent enough serviceable card. I don't think it's like standard. It's not going to take over standard anytime soon. All right, little Izzit 2-drop, guys. Whenever you cast, what is wrong with me just instantly getting into it? I haven't done these spoilers before, so I'm getting used to it. Prismari Pledgemage, okay, very interesting, hard name to say. It's a Orc Wizard, okay, wizards are very relevant. It has a Defender, oh no, but it's a 3/3. And it has Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery, you can attack this turn as though it did not have Defender, so kind of cool. We saw that in the form of, I think it was like Drowsy Tyrannodon or something like that. I forget what the name was, but it was a 3-drop. I think it's currently playable in standard right now. But you have to have a power 4 or greater, so it's sort of situational when you can swing. But I think if this is like one of your only creatures in the deck and you're always doing instants and sorceries, I think that's fine. I think a 3/3 in Izzit might not be that easy to come by. And if it turns out that there's a lot of 2/2s that become relevant, this could be a good enough card. Okay, so here we have a cool new elemental summoning. It's like 5-drop, 2 Izzit colored mana, and 3 anything. Create a 4/4 blue-red elemental creature token. So lessons aren't supposed to be overwhelming, but again, being able that this is sort of like a free sideboard, right? Essentially, these lessons, this can be helpful, right? Say their deck's filled with 3/3s, this can be very relevant. Can also just be your only creature to survive 1 more turn until you get to your combo. So, you know, it's not overwhelming, but something to keep an eye out, and I'm sure you'll see it eventually. Okay, so here we have a cool card. I don't think we've seen this yet. Very interesting. It matters what X is very much. We have 4 clauses. Let me read them if you can't see it, if the text is too small. But essentially, as X gets bigger, more things happen. If X is 1, scry 1, then draw a card. If X is 2, you may choose a player. They return a creature card they control to its owner's hand. Okay. They pick if X is 2. Interesting, because you pick the player. If X is 3, you create a 4/4 blue and red elemental creature token. And if X is 4 or more, you do all of the above. Now, it is a sorcery speed blue card called Multiple Choice. Again, I'm not covering the name. But when you get to do, when X is 4 or more and you get a 4/4 creature, they have to return something. They have to return a creature, and we get a scry and draw a card. I think that becomes a very strong card. I think the flexibility on this is awesome, and I think, yeah, as soon as you hit X's 4, I think it becomes a very good Magic card. Let's keep an eye on it. I think this is interesting when you copy it as well. So we'll have to see. Okay, so this is a interesting card. I can't wait to see how people receive this, because it's a 4-drop black instant that basically says exile target creature or planeswalker, which is good. It's kind of like a eat to extinction without the one sort of pseudo surveil you get to do. But you get to pay 2 mana instead if you allow your opponent to draw a card. So by paying 2 mana, you have a non-restricted exile clause on creatures or planeswalkers. Very cool. Of course, they do get a card out of it, but to immediately blow something up for 2 mana at the end of your turn, that's potentially like a 5-drop or 6-drop planeswalker that can get out of hand, and then just give them 1 card, right? And then you go to your turn, because maybe this was at the end of yours. That's good. It's good in most situations. Yes, the drawback is real, but the flexibility of this card makes it very strong. I think we'll be seeing a lot of this. Yeah, I think we'll be seeing a lot of this. I think Exile is very good too, because when creatures die, a lot of triggers are happening now. So yeah, let's keep an eye on this. Sinister Dominance, cool. Okay, I don't believe this one was covered so far. I have not seen coverage of this, but this is called Symmetry Master. This is a Rhinoceros Druid with Reach, and it is a 4-drop. 2 greens, 2 colors. Whenever a creature you control with power equal to its toughness attacks, okay, it gains trample until end of turn. Woohoo! Interesting build around type of card. So Symmetry Master obviously wants you to use specific creatures in the format that are 3/3s, 2/2s, 4/4s, 5/5s, 6/6s, okay? And it has Reach. Okay, that's actually good. I like Reach because it stops most of the 3-drop flyers. A lot of these flyers coming out have like 3 power, right? So this can stop those. And yeah, giving things trample, if you have no other way of doing it, can be cool. If if this slots in nicely to the deck, then so be it. And you have a trample synergy, so be it. However, there are a lot of good 4-drops right now. Especially in green, so this may be competing for a spot. However, after rotation, I think this card could be considered in at least some janky sort of build around decks. Okay, so this is a 1-drop in black with flying. When it dies, you learn. Okay, so this is definitely a staple for any deck that is black, that has any sort of emphasis on learn and the learn mechanic, because this is great. This is essentially like, for those of you who don't know, you can get a learn card, a lesson card from your sideboard, or you can discard a card and draw a card. Now, being in black, you want to discard cards sometimes. So being able to discard something and draw a card that you could potentially then reanimate, right, is very good. So having that attached to a die trigger is very cool, especially when you want to maybe sacrifice this, then immediately reanimate it, then sacrifice it next turn, immediately reanimate it. This is probably going to be the go-to 1-drop for any sort of strategy like that, and I'm very curious to see how far this card goes. I think this will be everywhere. And also look at the art. Bat Eye, baby, Bat Eye. Don't think we've covered this yet, but anyway, let's get on to it. I think we're going to go on to the colorlesses and the new avatar right now. Okay, guys, I think we're on the second to last card. So this is a very cool looking card because it is split. And that second half art is very, very interesting to me with those birds sort of going into the spiral. So let's see what it's all about. I only read this very briefly, so this is sort of first reaction. 5-drop, okay, for the avatar half. Whenever, this is called the Wandering Archaic. Whenever an opponent casts an instant or sorcery card spell, you may pay 2 mana. If they don't, you may copy that spell. Hoo-hoo-hoo. Oh, they may pay 2 mana. Okay, they may pay 2 mana. So if they don't, we get to copy the spell, and we can choose new targets for the copy. Okay, so it's a 4/4/5 drop that sits there and taxes your opponent whenever they cast an instant sorcery. And if they can't handle that tax, then they just won't, right? If they won't cast it, we'll get to go back to our turn and do things. Or if they do, or if they just opt to cast it anyway and not pay, we can copy it. That's so cool. That's very interesting. It's definitely a very hate-oriented clause. I don't think we've seen anything quite like this. So let's see what the second half's about. So it's a sorcery called Explore the Vastlands. Each player looks at the top 5 cards of their library, reveals a land card and or an instant or sorcery card. Okay, then they put the revealed cards this way into their hand, and the rest on the bottom of their library in any order. Each player gains 3 life. Okay, so what we have here is we have sort of a nice dig. Each player looks at 5 cards of the library. Of course, your opponent gets to do it. And then we get to reveal lands and or instant or sorceries. Very interesting. And then putting the rest on the bottom. Okay. Interesting. So it's like we both get the benefit, the opponent and the player. Each player gains 3 life, but we just get to do it and get exactly what we need, and maybe our deck is more oriented to lands and instants and sorceries. Okay. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about that. It seems very odd. I wish that maybe we just at least gained life, or something that made it a little bit more geared to us. Of course, it is attached to this Wandering Archaic. So, and of course, giving those cards is then taxed by the Wandering Archaic. So that's where the synergy is, right? Of course, we give them stuff, but now it's more expensive. This is interesting. I don't know if it's that good. I like the Avatar half a lot more. Of course, it just remains to be seen. Really remains to be seen what kind of instants and sorceries come out that are good enough to take up slots in the current meta. Okay, Codie, the Vociferous Codex. Hopefully I said that. It's a legendary artifact creature, guys. It is a 1/4 creature construct. It's alive. When you lay this card, you cannot cast permanent spells anymore. Okay, very interesting. This can be a commander. Very interesting. Something we have to look at. This is wild. We're going to have to talk about it for all you commander heads out there. I'm sorry I don't really have a good read on this card in that format, but let's look at it in the context of standard. For 4 colorless, you can tap to get 1 of each, and then when you cast your next spell this turn, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile instant or sorcery with lesser mana than that value. Until end of turn, you may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Okay, then put each other card exiled this way on the bottom of your library in any order. So basically, you pay 4 mana to get 5, so it's a little bit of ramp. And then you, for lesser mana value, until end of turn, cast that card without paying its mana cost. Okay, so it's like, it's a little bit of a risk, because you basically exile until you get something, right? And then you can cast it for free. So it's a little bit of, you might need scries, you might need abilities to look at the top of your deck, but if you can manipulate good cards onto the top of your deck, I'm assuming there's great ways of taking advantage of this. Yeah, a little bit of a strange card for me. I hope of course, you're going to have to be having tons of spells because you can't cast permanents. And I just don't know what kind of deck I would build with this, but, actually, let me know in the comments the implications of this card. If anything, I'm most personally curious about, it's the implications of this card. I don't really fully understand why this is good or who would play this, especially when it's 3 mana colorless. It's like a 1/4. It restricts your deck very much. I don't know. But anyway, that should sort of all encompass what came out today, what I saw sort of dropped in the last couple hours. So hopefully I didn't repeat anything you guys have already seen or miss anything. I may have missed a couple cards, like maybe 1, maybe 2. Hopefully not. But thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to like it and subscribe to the channel. That would help a lot. being that I'm so new. I just hit 40 subscribers. Thanks for the support, guys. Really, gosh, this is awesome. Like, I'm serious, like, really. And I'll be putting more Strixhaven spoilers as the cards come out, and Kaldheim gameplay in Standard, guys. I have a really cool mono blue snow deck with sort of an infinite combo loop I just dropped today if you want to go check that out. But have a great day, guys, and stay solid.